Welcome everybody to the RC Movement podcast. I'm your host, Rich Cohen. It's the start of a brand new year, January 2020, the start of a new decade. And what better way to get this decade started than by starting the podcast afresh with a brand new set of interviews, starting with a very, very, very special guest today. So we're extremely honored to have join us on today's show, Mr. Erik Bohm. Erik is the founder of Effortless Runners, which is a running coaching company, community, and tribe of runners who are passionate about running on roads, tracks, trails, and in general, leading a more active lifestyle. And a lot of us all dream about one day running a marathon. So all of us want to run a marathon one day, or be able to run that 5K or that 10K. And typically, once you complete something like that, the next step is to maybe do another marathon at under 5 hours, or run a 5K at maybe under 40 or 30 minutes. But this man has broken all those boundaries. He's not going under 5 hours, not going under 3 hours. This guy's done a sub 3 hour marathon. He's in one of the top 2% of recreational runners. Without further ado, welcome Mr. Erik Bohm.
Thank you so much, Rich. That's quite the introduction. That's happy New Year, yeah, super excited to be on the podcast. So yeah,
awesome.
It was a long time coming, and I really like the podcast that you put out there, and I'm happy to share my story.
Excellent, thank you, mate. I really appreciate it. I'm glad that you're one of the few people that have tuned into some of the episodes, and glad you like the episodes. And our episodes are all about performance hacks for your life, your fitness, and your business. And I think in so many ways, there's so much value that you can add to the show and to the listeners on the show in all of those particular areas. And I know that you've just kind of you're in Phuket now. Tell us about. And Happy New Year as well. Tell us about what the New Year means to you. How's it in Phuket, and what does the New Year bring into you this year?
This is exciting. So we moved to Phuket about 5 months ago, and it immediately felt like home. We live in the south of the island, which I'd never explored. But we went there once, and we're like, yeah, this is the type of environment where we want to put our family in.
Yeah.
Works really well for me. Works well for my wife. Our kids love the school here, so we're really, really happy. And in terms of what 2020 is going to bring, this is like you said, it's a new start. It's a new decade. For me, with Effortless Running, it means 2020 is going to be the year where this is going to blow up. I've been working on it steadily for 2 to 3 years now, and I can really feel, how when you start, it takes a while before the plane takes off. You need to gather speed and momentum, and it really feels as if we've got liftoff. Right? It's the whole social media thing is growing well, but I now have a ton of experience under my belt in actually coaching people online. Offline, of course, I was doing this for a long time already, but the online coaching, I've really started to fine tune it. So 2020 is the year. This needs to happen now.
That's what I like to hear. High five, man. That's awesome. So cool. And so Effortless Running. I love the sound of the name. I've been following you guys, both you and Suzanne, your wife Suzanne, for a while now, with the Health Stacks company, which I know is another one of your companies. And then I saw you sort of branched out into your own specific fields of expertise. So tell us a little bit about, but it's Effortless Running. Just hearing the sound of it makes me want to go, I'll have it.
Or he's a liar, because that doesn't happen.
Because effortless and running, to a lot of people, doesn't I guess they wouldn't align those two words together, would they? So because running takes a lot of energy, there's a lot of effort. So tell us why effortless running?
So in a nutshell, when we started Health Stacks, we initially, both Suzanne and myself, initially thought that we were going to guide people to a better, healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
And we're qualified for that, and we're ready to go and do that. But gradually, I noticed that I was moving more and more towards my passion, which was like training people up to break their barriers, reach their goals, get to that sub-3 marathon, and goals like that. And so it was, I mean, when I went back to what I really like, what my passion is, which is obviously running, then it was that's what the audience or the people out there recognized and went like, yes, now he's talking about something that resonates with me. And so I was doing a lot of workshops and doing some. Actually, I got this idea from one lady, Manuela, who I was coaching at the time, and in conversation with her, coaching her along, I said, like, it just came up, and I said, when you're running, it should feel as if it's no harder work than walking or jogging or doing the dishes or like something you do naturally, right? And it should feel pretty effortless. And then her jaw just dropped. She went, that's what I would like. Like, if you can teach me to run effortless, that would be like that would be gold to me.
Right.
And I went, oh, okay, that resonates, and that name stuck. And then I started asking into more people. It's like, what is running effortless for you? And they went, no, not at all. Like, and you can see it, right? You can see it in the faces of the people in the park in the Sunday morning. It's a look of, part despair and misery.
Yes.
For some,
yes, exactly.
they know that it's good for their body, and they'll go out and do it. But the way that they're doing it is far from effortless. And in the process, you might actually run the risk of actually hurting yourself more than it benefits you.
Right. I mean, yeah, because I'm glad you brought it up, because there's a lot of there's obviously a lot of running coaching programs out there. There's a lot of like ways in which you can access, ways to run your first 5K, run your first 10K, run your half marathon. But what I really like, what I really am hearing from what you're saying is that this is all about your form, rather than how far you can run, how fast you can run, and it comes later. Is that quite similar to what your philosophy?
Yeah, no, that's right. It's so the running method, the effortless running method that I developed is really grounded in form, right? And it's you don't get to go fast until you run well. Like there's a few anomalies of people who don't have a particularly good gait, but they're smashing it, right? But if you look at the elite runners, and for my research, I obviously turned to the East African runners or the Kenyan runners, right? And because if you're talking about effortless, like those, that's effortless, right?
Yes.
The way that those people run is it's just poetry in motion. But there's another group that runs really, really well as well that we don't recognize, and that's kids. Up until the age of about 10, we all run really well. And it's not until we ask kids to go and sit more and more and more and to spend more time on their computers. And of course, you will notice that I'm a big proponent of getting you up and moving. Not until we ask them to go and sit that we almost forget how to run. And that is that I'd always thought that was the case, but it wasn't until this summer I was back in the Netherlands, and I was visiting a friend who has a stable of horses, and he bought a horse for his daughter who was 10 years of age, And he said, oh, Zoe really enjoys riding the horse, but I have to ride it too. And I went, why? Because he said, because if you have a stable held horse and you don't let it go into canter, right, or gallop, they will lose the ability to do that. In the wild, they naturally have to do it. Mm-hmm. But if you have a stable held horse and Zoe is too young to actually make it go canter and gallop, he said, so I have to ride it too. Otherwise, the horse is going to forget. The horse is going to forget how to do that. And I went, oh my God, that is exactly the same in humans. Yeah. We forget how to run, right? If we don't, it's same in fitness, same in any kind of highly specialized skill. If you don't use it, you lose it. It's the reversibility principle, right? And it goes for running. So if you want to become a better runner, first of all, you have to practice how to run. So you have to do the form drills connected to running. And then once you've got good form, you can start to add in, speed, pace, and volume.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's one of those things, crawl before you walk and walk before you run, and drill before you run far.
Yeah. And it's actually funny that you say that, because in the ebook, the Effortless Running Secrets, I actually have a little passage there that in my time of being a PE teacher, I noticed that there was a group of kids who weren't really good at whose coordination kind of lacked. And then when we started interviewing the parents, it almost inevitably is connected to if those parents carried their kids for a really long time, or never let them crawl on the floor, or if kids just naturally, some kids do that, they just start walking straight away, right? They skip the stage of crawling. Right. But in Asia is a little bit of a cultural phenomenon. I think that we don't allow our children to crawl on the floor because the floor presumably is not that clean. But then they don't get that cross-lateral movement. Right. And so if you can't crawl, you get a little bit of less stability in your walking gait, and in your jogging or in your running gait, you get even less stability. And so, yeah, like let your kids crawl. Even though it might not be the dirtiest, the cleanest of environments, but yeah, do that. And I'm sure you see that in the gyms as well, where people come in and go, nah, your coordination is off.
Yeah, and you know what? It's interesting you mentioned, because it's the building the foundation first, and like I think all of us actually, I've been kind of guilty of this recently. We all of us have a memory of what it was like to run, or what it was like to play football, what it was like to what it was like to hit the gym and do heavy deadlifts or squats or bench press or something like that. And then we don't realize that, take an amount of time off of that, like you haven't run for a year, 6 months. Some people 5 years, 10 years. Then they go, I'm going to go run a 5K, 10K. And then they go and, I guess their minds are writing checks that their bodies can't quite cash. And then that eventually ends up catching up with you, and you get injuries, or you can get put off, get scared about going back to running again. Is that something that Effortless Running helps to find a solution for?
Yeah. So so what you described is probably my it's probably 80% of my clientele. Right? Okay. So somebody who used to be quite good, used to run a lot, and then life takes over, right? And if it's women, it's often connected to being pregnant and becoming a mom, and having to forcibly take time off of running, because I can only imagine what it's like to have to run with an extra human in your tummy. So yeah, no, don't do that, obviously. But then, so you're forced to take time off, and then it takes a while before you can get your body back, right? Or if it's men, it's like something like life takes over. You're taking care of kids, or your job takes over. And then after a while, people get to this realization, like, okay, I've got to get back into shape. And the mind, like you said, the mind remembers what it was like to run, and we all kind of remember our times, and or if you can't remember, like nowadays you've got your Garmin and your Strava telling you that you're so far off your personal best or something like that. So that's not actually particularly helpful in
Right.
in that circumstance, because what we tend to do is then we go then the rule of the terrible twos kick in, and it's the terrible twos are you're probably going to go too far, too fast, too soon. So what I do in my coaching is, first of all, I get people to go, all right, let's stop, let's wait for a minute, let's analyze what's going on here. So I usually start with a video analysis of your current running style. Then I kind of predict that by the amount of people that I've seen now, is that the drills that are in my Effortless Running book are going to be useful for about 80%, 90% of the people that do a video analysis.
Yeah.
But everybody's got their own really particular running style, right? So what I really need to do is you need to look at it frame by frame to see, okay, which are the corrective drills that will get you back on track to make you run effortlessly and to make you run well before you can actually start adding volume and load into your program. So it's really quite a scientific approach to it, to say, let's first see where we are, what's good and what's not so good. We'll take about a month or so to correct what needs correcting, and oftentimes it's here, right? So it's not it's rewiring the brain, and fatigue doesn't really fit well with trying to rewire your brain. So it's pointless going into a 10K run with bad form, or thinking that you can hold the form. You need to gradually convince your brain that this new style of running is actually the natural way of running. And then after that month, when you run well, that's when we start to build the program up.
Wow. So it sounds like it's very, like you mentioned, very scientific based, and also it sounds like you're customizing the program based on the person's, I guess, running dysfunctions or running running gait, depending on where they're lacking strength or where they're lacking ability or rhythm. So you give them a customized program.
Yeah, because we have to, right? Because no two people run the same. Yeah. And what might be true for me might not be true for you.
Yeah.
So I know that there are some archetypes of runners that I describe as well. Like there's some commonalities in errors that we make, and so those are fairly easy to address. But it's everybody's particular. That's what I love about the analysis is what makes your run, and what are your specific areas of improvement.
Interesting. So, okay. So what are the what can I ask? What are the different archetypes of runners?
Yeah. So I have to credit my daughters here, because they love the book The Gruffalo. I don't know if you know it.
My son's not old enough to really understand it, but I just read it for my own pleasure anyway.
Yeah. I enjoy reading it. Yeah. And I often at nighttime I'll often say, like, do you want to read The Gruffalo? And they go like, no, Dad. But but the Gruffalo is really, really heavy, and he stomps, and you can hear him coming through the woods. And that's one archetype, right? Okay. It's and it doesn't have to be a fairly heavy runner. It doesn't have to be somebody who's 100+ kilograms. It can be a very petite lady, but you can still hear her approaching, right? And they often have this.
You see those guys running around the park, or those girls. You hear them running around the park.
You hear them, right? So they go boom, boom, boom. They're pounding themselves, and it's usually accompanied with quite a heavy breath. So, so then you get the Gruffalo effect, or what I envision is the Gruffalo is like, rah, this monster lurking up behind you. So that's one of the archetypes. The runner that's really pounding the pavement, and that in and of itself is obviously a poor running form, but it also is a surefire way to get you injured, because you're absorbing all this ground reaction force because you're slamming into the ground with every step. And it's not just your body weight. It's like when we run, it's 3 to 4 times our body weight that we have to absorb. So you can imagine every single step, you get this jarring sensation in your muscles or in your joints. Pretty soon you won't really enjoy running.
Yeah.
So that's one archetype. The other one that I very often see is the shuffler. And yeah, and so people who kind of shuffle along, they have very little knee drive. So I always describe it as, if I can tie an elastic band around your knees and you can still run, you're not running the right way. Right? If that doesn't bother you, if you keep your knees really close together and you're just like kicking your leg back, then you're not really running. You're actually moving in your jogging gait. So as humans, we can walk, jog, run, and sprint, and they all have different movement patterns. And they're all different movement patterns in our brain. Jog long enough, and you'll forget how to run. So one of the really, really interesting things is when I get people who say, like, oh yeah, I've been running for years. I run 3 times a week, but I can't seem to break the 5-minute barrier. That's a significant one. So 5 per kilometer is 12 kilometers an hour.
Yeah.
And that seems to be where you max out in your jogging gait. So the jogging gait has an upper limit of about 12 kilometers an hour, which is why so many people in the running events around here max out at about 5 minutes. Now, the problem starts to occur when you want to go faster, but use the wrong running gait. So if you're still in your jogging gait and you're going to go 4:30, there's no other way to do it than to start overstriding, starting to make larger steps. And you're going to overstride, you're going to presumably heel strike, because now you're placing that foot farther away. So your heel is going to touch ground first, and now you've got an extended leg and a heel strike, and that ground reaction force that we spoke about is now going to travel all the way through your hip. And so many joggers often come with me and say, like, I can't really run anymore because I've got a hip injury.
Yeah.
And then I start working with them, and we start putting in a knee drive, and we start doing butt kicks the correct way, not the way that you and I have always been taught them. But if we pull alongside our leg, now we really start to get a nice knee drive, so we just drive that knee forward. And that's when people, after about an hour's workshop, go like, I don't have any pain in my hip. It's because you're allowing the body to run in the gait that you're actually meant to. And so quite a few people have gone far below that 5-minute marker, simply by paying attention to form. And that's really, like, my heart jumps when I see people going from a shuffler to a runner.
Wow, that's huge. That's huge. And I'm guessing that, when you're going from, if it's a shuffle or a gruffalo, and you're going into this new effortless way of running with knee drives and adding these new, dynamic movements that you're not used to. I mean, it must be, I'm guessing at the start it's quite knackering at first. Like, it must be quite, like heart rate must be, you can't hold it for long, is that?
Yeah, no, totally. So just to finish off the archetypes,
Sorry,
there's the bouncer as well. right? We all know that person with a vertical oscillation. That is, and you can often see it if it's lady runners who have a ponytail. If that ponytail is going like woo, and you go, yeah, okay, there's a little bit too much vertical oscillation. I always imagine those people having a huge headache when they finish a run because it's just like
they're just happy or they've got gin and tonic in their water. They're actually bouncing. We're actually bouncing that way. Okay, the bouncers.
Maybe that's the reason for the headache.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that would definitely, I think, would set it up. So the bouncers, they're going for a different challenge than the shufflers and the gruffaloids.
Yeah, so they're all slightly different, right? So all the archetypes need their own adjustments, but the bouncer really needs to start driving more energy towards the finish line, like in the direction that they want to go, right. Instead of up and down, right? And that's really the challenge for the bouncer. Right? They have an abundance of energy, but they're using it in the wrong way. And so they're probably always get to the end of a 5K and they're completely exhausted because they've actually run 5.5K if you actually count the vertical beats.
Yeah, maybe they run 5K up before they run 5K forward.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So you can put people in like different categories quite easily, but then the challenge is like, okay, well, if you're in that category, yes, there are certain drills that we can do to get you to become a better runner. But what is it that your individual needs are? And that's hard to see with the naked eye. That's why I always want the video analysis, because I really do look at it frame by frame, and then you can really freeze frame it and say like, oh, see, this person drops their hip on impact, so you want to go to the gym. Actually, a lot of it is probably a lot of the drills are not unlike gym work, where you're trying to stabilize your core, get really, really strong hips, and that will benefit your run in regardless of your archetype.
Wow, I mean, it sounds like it's a really methodical, scientific-based approach to improving people's running structure. I love it.
Yeah, I try to. It's because I'm a firm believer in if you can measure progress, right, and you can and you see the difference. It doesn't have to be, but I also don't want to throw numbers at people, right? Because sometimes you get put off by numbers. So you won't hear me talking about like VO2 max for the first month. Well, you'll hardly hear me talking about VO2 max at all. It's just like, okay, this is the pace that I would like you to run, because this is what you can hold for your functional threshold for 30 minutes straight, right? Or 30 minutes or an hour straight. That's what you can do like that. So I try to translate. I try to translate the scientific to the plain English, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like it's easy. I think once you start getting into some of the data and the numbers and the thresholds, it then becomes very data driven, very scientific, which limits over people's heads. So
and you also don't need it to, well, you yourself as an athlete, unless you're particularly interested in it, don't really need it in order to improve, especially not if you're still working on your form. So it's only until after, when we've established that your running form is correct and you want to go into like an event coaching program, that I start to play around with numbers for you. That's for the first month. That's not the aim at all.
Yeah, awesome. So get the foundation set first. Get them running smoothly, get them running effortlessly. And I guess your clients can feel it already when they're starting to, like you mentioned, they're running and it's not hurting your knees anymore, it's not hurting your hip anymore.
Yeah. That's a much better metric of success than looking at your time.
Yeah.
Right? Because if I'm in it for the long run. Right? I want to win an age group when I'm 80. That's
I
That's
love
when
it.
I'm.
I love it. I love it.
So
That's a great goal. That's a great goal.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's
So
awesome.
I've got to keep my body intact, and I've got to run in such a way that I can maintain the volume, um, and I'm probably doing a little bit more than it's good for me now, um, but I'm doing it in a way that is not hurting my body.
Yeah.
So it's really I, I'm running all these races, but I'm not getting all that much reaction from it. And I pay close attention, obviously, to how I run. When like sometimes people ask me, like, what do you think about when you go on these long runs or like these ultra runs? And I say, oh, I think about running.
Right.
And they go, like, what does that mean? I say, well, I think about how does this step feel? How do I feel now? And how is my arm carry? And how does my heart rate feel? Am I going over? Am I under? Am I comfortable? Do I need to eat something? And so on and so forth. So there's always a billion questions running through my mind. Yeah, it makes it really fun.
Wow, because I mean, because when you talk about like you're saying that the whole way through like a run, like a 42K or like an ultra marathon. I remember when I did my ultra marathon in Atacama about 3 years ago. I mean, all that was in my mind was like, when I get home, I'm gonna have pizza. And then yes. When's my first meal? All these crazy things going through my mind. How's my relationship? What's going on with my mom? I was all over the place, really. So that's you must be channeling a lot of focus into your which I guess that's why it's been so successful, is that you're able to really coach yourself as you're running through as you're doing these races, and because you're running at a very elite level, Erik.
Oh, thanks. We always know people that are at the next spot in the ladder, right? So thank you for that comment. Although I don't consider myself an elite runner yet, because I look at other people who go there. But yeah, it's something that I would strive for. I think it's certainly in my age group. I'm lucky that I've gone into the 40 and over bracket. So now I'm the young one again. I'm the rookie.
Well, that's a competitive age group, right? The 40 plus. The 40 guys are still hardcore, right? I remember from triathlon.
Yeah, the times don't really seem to drop off that much.
No, right, yeah. And actually, I want to kind of like I want to get into it, because now like I think people will look at you and like some of the things that you've achieved in your career as a runner. Tell us about going below 3 hours, and then we had the ultra marathon, coming up, the ultra marathon that you did this year as well. Do you want to touch a little bit on those? And like what I mean, because I really want to understand what is it that gets you to being an average or sort of like a normal recreational runner, to then the next step becoming winning your age group, winning races outright. What is it that gets you there? So I guess my question is, your question is, I don't know what the question is. What is the question? The question is like, wait, so what is running into you?
Yeah. Okay. So let me. So I love this, because this is like my mind's going through a million things at the moment. But because I'm not sure that I can give you a definite answer. But one thing that I do know for sure is, and I'll start with that because I think it's a major component, is the mental part, right? So I used to have trouble, or I think I told myself that I used to have trouble winning, because I was always unsure whether or not the person next to me deserved it more than I did, because we always know how hard we worked, right? And no training plan ever goes 100%. So there's never a time when you could show up to the race and you go, right, I did absolutely every workout, and it just kept getting better from moment to moment. I never had a lousy moment, and I never skipped a run. I never felt bad. So now this is it. This is I'm the top dog here. That doesn't happen. We always have runs that don't feel so good. We always have this self-doubt. And so I would always show up at races and go, well, I know I'm well trained, but I don't know if I'm as good as the next guy. Mm-hmm. And then that kind of sort of was like a limiting belief that held me back.
Yeah.
And it was almost like I felt like somehow I didn't deserve it to be in front, to be the lead runner. I would always feel more comfortable in second. So that's a really, and that's a pretty recent insight that I've had. But the moment that I had it, so I would say that's something on the last 3 years of my running career. The triathlons was slightly different because I was always able to chase people down because my swim wasn't the greatest. I was pretty decent on the bike, and then in the run I was always able, if there was somebody ahead of me, I was going to get you because that was my leg, right? So I didn't really feel that was the case in triathlon. But for running, it was always okay. Now I'm surrounded by other runners. This is my area, but this is their strength area too. So I don't know what's going to bring, what they are going to bring to the table.
Yeah.
So fast forward. So 3 years ago, and this is really credit to my wife Susie, who like works on your mental mindset. And she went, but you know that nobody, like we just said, like nobody shows up fully prepared. Everybody has those doubts. So if you wouldn't want someone else to just hand you the victory because they skipped a training, would you? And I went, no. And so neither should you. Like you show up and know, like, okay, despite the way that I've trained, I'm going to give it my best, and I'm going to see if I can stick it out until the end, and you'll have to take it from me. So that was a real mind shift for me.
Yeah.
And sorry, that's a really long introduction into your question.
No, that's good. That's really good because that in itself, I mean, and then once you were able to come up with that better question or something, you know, at the start of the race, or that better statement that you made at the start of the race, what started happening to your results?
Well, and lo and behold, right? You don't win races straight out, but you find yourself running with the top 5 group, like with the lead group for the first 10K. And you go, hang on, I'm actually here, right? And let's see and hang on. Let's try and hang on and see how far we can get. And then inevitably, in a half marathon or something, there's somebody's got to kick away at 18 kilometers because they just have a little bit more left in the tank. But that started to become less and less and less. And there's the Ayutthaya half marathon 2 years ago. And I was in second position where I feel really, really comfortable.
Yeah.
But I could see the lead runner. And at the 18K mark, he doesn't run past the aid station, but he actually he stops. He stops to take water. And for a moment there, I was a bit startled. I was like, this isn't supposed to happen, right? Like I'm supposed to be in second,
yeah.
And this guy is supposed to now kick and run and go and take away the victory. But he didn't, because he was spent. Like he was shot. He was done. And so all of a sudden now I'm in the lead, and I'm going, hang on, like it's only 3 kilometers. Like I can do this. And so I think I ran the fastest 3K of my life because I was so afraid that number 3 was going to catch up, right? So I started sprinting down that last stretch, and when I crossed the finish line, I was like, oh my God, like this is the first time that I'm actually lifting the banner, right? And going like, okay, I'm not the first one age group. I'm not the first one. I'm actually literally the first person to finish this course. Yeah, yeah.
Amazing.
That was and I'm fortunate, or like I'm lucky that it has happened a couple of other times. Most noticeably the marathon in Hua Hin, where I was aiming for a sub 3, and here in Thailand, that's a little challenging with all the humidity. It's doable, but it's
yeah.
but yeah, that was I guess the highlight of last year. Well, there were multiple highlights of last year, but that was certainly one of them.
Well, I mean, the confidence and the momentum that, you know, seeing yourself, you know, breaking out of like the second place, or sorry, breaking out into sort of like breaking through, feeling like you didn't deserve to be there, or you didn't deserve you only deserve to be in second, to now be running with the top pack, to then taking the first win at the half marathon. That momentum and the confidence must have just built every time. So that now I think let me ask you, when you get to the start of the race, like what's going on in your mind now at the beginning of every new race? You got to take this off. I'm winning. This is my race.
Yeah, you don't have to. Okay, there's no need to be. Like you can stand your ground, but you don't have to be arrogant.
Sure. Right? Yeah, of course. The difference between arrogance and confidence.
Exactly. So I show up to this last race in 2019, and again, half marathon here in Katu in Phuket, and I'm looking around and going like, oh yeah, okay, I'll be with the lead runners. Not sure who they will be, but I'll be up there. And we go, and I'm running with a buddy of mine, and we're keeping a nice pace. But I see 2 other runners like disappear into the distance, and I'm kind of, part of me goes like, oh, I go and do a quick analysis, and I go like, oh, yeah, I'll see those guys again.
What was it about the analysis that made you say that?
Because one of them was a Gruffalo.
Okay. Yeah.
One of them passes me, and I hear him like pound, 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 and I go, wow, okay, that's impressive. And he was slightly bigger built. He would say definitely like muscular. So I thought like, yeah, okay, you're strong, but you might not last the full 21. But much to my surprise, I caught number 2, but I never caught the Gruffalo. So credits to him, kudos to him. Like they after about 5K, there was a turn where I lost sight of them, and I never saw them again. I also never saw the moment that I overtook number 2, because by that time the 10K route and the 21K route had converged. So it was a little hard to see who was who. So he might have, I don't know what happened to him, but yeah, so to come back to your question, what has happened? How do you show up to races now? I was mildly disappointed that I didn't catch number 1. So that's the kind of attitude that I have now. It's like, okay, I'm here, and you've got to take it from me. And in that race, the other runner definitely did, and yeah, kudos to him. He was a better runner on the day, so yeah, applaud him for it.
Yeah, wow. I mean, and I am sure that's given you even more fuel to next time to go out there and. When's another race coming up? Another race coming up. When's the next one for you?
Yeah. 1st of February. There's the North Face 100 up in. Yeah. I know. It's one of those ones that you go back to because there's unfinished business. And it is a really, it's a great run, and it's well organized. So it's a great start of the year for me.
No, is it in Hua Hin, that one? The
North? No, it's in Khao Yai. So it's north of Bangkok.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So beautiful scenery. It'll be hot on that second loop.
Yeah. I think I
but
did it not last year, the year before. I did the 50K there. It's a
right.
really nice run. A great, nice trails.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really nice.
Beautiful trails, well organized, lots of volunteers along the way, and good aid stations and so on and so forth. So yeah, if you're living in the Bangkok area, or even I would say it's a travel destination, right? Like if you're somewhere else, fly in, do the race, you're gonna have an amazing time.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome. So that's you come up to Calgary for that race. And in regards to tell us a little bit about you mentioned earlier when we had a phone conversation earlier today, you were telling me a quite a funny story about how you first got into running. So I'm sure all the listeners would love to hear about that.
Yeah. By chance, no. I was always, so if you're growing up in the Netherlands, from the age of 4, you join a football team, a soccer team, right? That's what you do. You have 2 choices in the village that I grew up in. You could either do gymnastics or you could go and join a football team. Right. So a lot of the boys choose football, a lot of the girls choose gymnastics, and then that has changed now, thank God. But definitely that was the case when I grew up. So from 4 to about 10, I was like playing along with my friends and having a normal active lifestyle, like any young kid does. And then when I was 10, my football coach came up to me and he said, "Erik, you're really good at running along the line." And I was, what are you saying? And he went, "You're not so good when we hand you the ball, but you're really good at running up and down the football field." He said, "Why don't you go over to the next village or the city, the big city, and see and go and join the track team?" And I went, "Track? Oh yeah, I never thought of that." But then I got home and I said to my parents, I said, "I want to join the track team." I went, "Oh, okay." So I joined that, and then from there on, kind of my running journey started. So I guess in hindsight, when I said earlier that there's 2 groups that run really well, and it's the East African runners and kids. I kind of right at the age where you would expect the level of running to drop off, I joined the track team and was lucky enough to have a coach who was really big on drills and running form. So we always did at least half an hour of drills. And so I kind of like that solidified my personal running form, and kept running ever since. Never really, I got really passionate about it. Never really lost my running gait, and didn't really think anything of it until I really started to investigate. Like, what is it? Why is it that people find it so difficult to run? And then I came across all these questions, and because if you go back, this again is mentioned in the book as well. Like, if we supposedly evolved as these running machines, if we are designed by our evolution to run really, really well, then why is it then so hard for us to do it in this day and age? If our ancestors were chasing gazelle down the savannah for hours on end, and it was that hard, we probably wouldn't have survived. So we have collectively like forgotten how to run well, and bringing that back is my mission.
Awesome.
2020 goals.
2020 goals. That's so cool. That's so cool. And whilst we're on the topic of 2020 goals, there's going to be a lot of listeners I know out there, a lot of people at the beginning of the year. There's lots of hope. Everyone's fresh. They're feeling good about the year. They may have missed some goals from last year, or had some intentions to start running or do their first race and maybe didn't manage to do it. And this year, they're starting afresh. Hope is there. What do asking a professional yourself, what kind of pieces of advice would you give to somebody who's kind of like on the fence? They want to start running again, or they would love to run. They see themselves running. They think it's going to be good for their body, but they're a little bit uncomfortable. It hurts. Then what would be like, the top 3 sort of tips or free advice would you give to somebody sort of thinking about getting into running after a number of years not being able to run, or some time off from not running?
Right. So, like I mentioned before, the biggest problem to this New Year's resolution and to why we don't follow through, it has nothing to do with willpower, right? There's more than enough people with an astonishing amount of willpower who don't follow through their running. And it's, first of all, it's related to that rule of terrible twos, right? Because we go like, right, this is the year, we're going to do it, and we go from 0 to 100 in no time. So we're gonna find an old sweatshirt, an old pair of sneakers that we had that really need replacement, but we're gonna strap them on anyway, and we're gonna start this year with a 10K run. Well, good for you. You feel amazing afterward. Oh, you don't feel amazing. You feel pretty lousy afterwards because you probably went too fast and you pushed yourself too hard, and you went too long. But you know what? Like good. All things new are difficult. So you got to push through that. So you go out again the next day, but it feels a little worse. And you go out the next day, and it feels a little worse yet, right? And pretty soon, you that old sweatshirt is back in the back of the closet, and the trainers are in the dumpster, because you've given up. So the most crucial piece of advice that I can give you is don't overdo it. Start slowly. If I was over 100 kilograms, I wouldn't enjoy running. Full stop. Right? It's hard work. So rather than making yourself run, why don't you start with walking? Right? There is no running police out there that is going to stop you and say your intention was to run, but you're walking, so you got to quit. Right? There's nobody going to hand you a red card or a yellow card to say like you're walking, can't do that. So really, really give yourself permission to take small steps, because consistency will prevail here. It doesn't help that we don't see results immediately. Like there's a lag time. So we need to allow time for the body to start recognizing that, oh, okay, I'm getting into this rhythm. You know what? I'm going to shed some weight. I'm going to build up the muscle. These are all processes that the body needs time for in order to actually develop. So starting really, really slow, starting with low volume is probably what I would advise, and listen to your body. Like make sure that you tune in, and when you're hurting, like that's your body telling you like something's off there. So if you're committed to it, then obviously this is a busy time of year for me, with lots of people making this commitment and saying, look, I'm going to do it right. I want to get a video analysis before I know how to do it. And then because of that, I also created a free run your fastest 5K kind of 1 month program, just for people who are curious, who want to check it out. I didn't really make it for, so I gave, there's 4 groups that you can choose from, just to make it engaging for everybody. So the first one is obviously just to go to complete a 5K, and so there's no time, there's no, you don't have to like hit a certain pace. The aim is just to complete. So if people are interested in that, obviously they can join the Effortless Runners Facebook community, and then just drop us a message there, and then I'll upload the program for you, and then before you know it, you'll have a coach.
Outstanding. So we've got, so just so people, so the viewers can know that if you are interested and if you want to start running again, you want to start running effortlessly again, start enjoying running, start getting all the positive results that running can give you, not just the physical but the mental clarity as well, then
Yeah.
join. So it's the Facebook group.
So there's multiple ways to get there. But so first of all, if you want to get into, if you want to get back into running, download the ebook, the Effortless Running Secrets. Right? That's a great place to start, because all of the knowledge nuggets that we've been discussing, they're kind of mentioned in that book, and the example, the New Year's example of taking your all the sweater out of the back of the closet is actually literally in there. So you'll so yeah, go to the website www.effortlessrunning.com, and it will link you to the free guide, which is the ebook that you can download, and then you get all the background. And what's so good about the ebook is it contains the 6 drills that are really geared towards like trying to get that 80% of the people who make those general mistakes to correct those mistakes. So it'll get you a fairly decent way towards effortless running. So I'd highly encourage you to do that. And then the second, if you are curious about that training plan, that 5K training plan that I coach through my online training platform, then I would direct you towards the Facebook group. And the Facebook group is the Effortless Runners, or you can get there through Effortless Running as well. But the Effortless Runners is really the community where we kind of support each other, and we help each other along, and people ask questions, and we have other users. There's a wealth of information in that group, and people are contributing to each other. It's really a wonderful platform, and it's really cool for me to see how people are interacting with each other and actually coming up with the answers that sometimes I can't even think of.
Yeah, that's amazing. And as a member of the group, I love following, and it's a very engaged group. Lots of you're running lots of great competitions and challenges, get people engaged and enjoying running. So you've done a great job on it. There's a lot of good resources for people who want to get started running. So you heard it here first. If you want to get onto, you can join the Effortless Running Facebook page and the community. We've got the free book that you can get to get some tips and tricks, and also there's coaching with Erik as well. So jump into too. And what we do is we're gonna put some of the links to those in the captions of the video once we post.
Okay.
We post it online.
Cool. Thank you.
Outstanding. And it's been fantastic. I'm sure we could talk for hours about running. I also there's some other. I think we're gonna do another episode, because I want to try and keep these episodes into around about the 50-60 minute mark. So we're gonna get Erik on for another episode, guys. So don't worry, he will be back. And I want to venture a little bit more in towards the business side of things. What you've been doing, how you set up your business, where you've gone from being a teacher into launching your own business, the quality of life that you've provided for yourself and your family. I really want to get into that as well. That's going to be some great content, I know.
That's a whole other discussion, right? Like this, but equally fascinating. Like that has been the real journey, the real journey of wonder for me. Yeah. I kind of knew the running. I know what's going on in the running, but yeah, that starting your own business and making sure that you get out of that initial stage and into the airlift is, and hopefully by the time I get back on, I can say like, yay, we've got like 10,000 followers, blah blah blah, we get this and that, and yeah, that'll be cool. So in the meantime, I'll be working on that.
You work on that so that we can come back and give us some great metrics and great results.
There we go. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, listen, it's been outstanding having you on the show today. Thanks so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it, and really good to learn lots more about you, what you've achieved, and also learn a lot more about running effortlessly, and the techniques that we need to put into place in order for us to go out there and enjoy it. for what an incredible sport it is, actually.
Yes, that's well summarized. Like that is that's the ultimate game, that we all enjoy the running.